Our hearts go out to the victims. This is an attack on our democracy, and the best response is to be here doing our job. So I thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Most of my questions will be for the record because we want to be as brief as possible. It's discussion about what resources the State Department should have. Without objection, I'd like to put into the record a letter from 123 and 4-star flag officers urging that you have more resources than you're asking for. And of course, Senator Corker made similar comments to you yesterday. We in Congress decide how much money is going to be spent. We've got the overall view. We might plug a tax loophole or have savings in another part of the budget that would allow us to spend more on foreign ops. But we do our best job when we get guidance. I would hope that you would submit for the record how you'd spend a 10%, 20%, or 30% increment, what your recommendation to us is if we can find the money to provide that. And I thank you for nodding. I'm going to move on to the red boxes that the ranking member brought up. The undersecretaries, the assistant secretaries that haven't been appointed. We talked about this. And I commend you for your decision to praise the people who are filling these positions as acting assistant secretaries, acting undersecretaries. They are career professionals. They're doing a spectacular job, except they can't do the job because they're temporary. They're not authorized to make policy, and there are hundreds of decisions that shouldn't reach your desk, but need to be made by someone who isn't just there holding down the. So I would urge you to submit a list of those actings that you would recommend keep their job because they're doing a spectacular job, and they've already got their security clearances, hit the ground running, and whoever holds that position not only has the incredible competence that you and I have discussed, but also has the authority of saying, this is really my desk. I would urge you to designate the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps as a specially designated foreign terrorist organization. The Quds Force is already so designated. If you designate the subsidiary, you should designate the entire consolidated group of corporations. That's, if we apply that business term to this situation, you should certainly designate the IRGC, given the thousands of people they've killed in Syria. We face an ideological threat from radical Islamic terrorism. I hope that we would pay to print and provide textbooks to parents who otherwise have to pay them, and expand our broadcasting, particularly in the regional language of Pakistan, especially Sindhi. Now a couple of oral questions. I think this is an easy one. Is the Trump administration committed to the implementation of last year's extension of the U.S.-Israel Memorandum of Understanding regarding security assistance?
Yes.
Another one might be a little tough. They're talking about an arms package for Saudi Arabia starting at $110 billion, perhaps $350 billion over the next 10 years. Can you provide the committee with an assurance that the State Department will closely scrutinize any proposed sales to ensure that they do not adversely impact Israel's qualitative military edge, and that you would oppose the transfer of F-35 aircraft?
We will ensure that all of those sales meet all of our obligations, both to Israel and to others.
I yield back.
I would like to respond.
I yield to the Secretary first.
Yeah, I would like to respond to the ranking member's chart, all the red boxes, since you brought it up. First, just so you know, we have named and have names in the process at the White House for about 50% of the undersecretary, assistant secretary positions, and we have candidate list that we're narrowing down for the remainder. Same on the ambassadorial roles. We have 212 ambassador or representative positions. Over 140 of those are filled. Of the remaining 70, more than about half have already been named and are in process. The other half, we have evaluations with candidates underway. One of the real obstacles over in the process, as I followed up with people, is because a lot of these people were named literally months ago. is what's the holdup, and when we call them, we find out it's getting their paperwork done. Now, the paperwork burden to get the clearance and to satisfy the Office of Ethics, which is important, is extraordinarily burdensome. I know from my own experience, I had to hire 8 individuals to help me get mine done such that I could get it done as quickly as I did. Most people can't afford to do that. And so this is an extraordinary chore for people to get through the paperwork. Even former senators who are been nominated for positions are struggling to get through the paperwork. So just a point that it's not because people haven't been named and they're not in the process. They are being processed.
I yield back.